Qasim Rafiq of the Federation of Student Islamic Societies, and from Buckingham University, Professor Anthony Glees, who's researched Islamic radicalisation on university campuses. Professor, what do you think needs to be done? I mean, it's a relatively small number we're talking about in thousands and thousands of students.
Well, it's a relatively small number, but a relatively small number of people can have a huge impact. And this alleged terrorist cell was clearly determined to cause a major incident in the United Kingdom. It shows that the United Kingdom still is the prime target for Al-Qaeda in the West. Now, the fact that we have 10 student visas involved make it very clear that some universities, particularly perhaps the less prestigious universities, are admitting students without full and proper checks, and not checks concerned with their fingerprints and their backgrounds, because that would predicate a knowledge in Pakistan of whether or not they're Al-Qaeda or terrorist supporters. But a full check by university involving an interview, which is after all what they're meant to do, to find out that the people coming really are students.
Yeah, right. So you ask them, do you support Al-Qaeda? And they say no. What do you do then?
Well, they're obviously not going to say that, but you can test them to see if they are proper, committed students, because people who spend their time in British universities developing a terrorist network cell are clearly not committed, motivated students. And it is surprising that their lecturers did not pick this up. It may be that they did. We don't yet know the facts.
Qasim Rafiq, it's clear that something needs to be done to improve screening. I mean, what would you suggest?
I mean, we have to take things in context. At the moment, we don't know if these were even students. We know that they came on student visas, well, that's been suggested, but we don't know if they were even students. So to claim that there's a huge problem...
You have to be sponsored, don't you? You have to have a place at an educational institution to get a student visa.
That goes without saying, but to suggest that these individuals, and they haven't been charged, let's make that clear, they haven't been charged with anything as of yet. And many of the individuals who've been arrested have been released without charge. So let's wait for the facts to come out of this case before we start making any judgments and start calling for better screening to take place. And what needs to be done is we need to look at the processes that are currently in place and find out where these failed and try to rectify these problems.
But Professor Glees is saying, you know, there may be 17, 18-year-old kids who have no criminal record, they don't show up on any terror watch lists, but they have already been turned. I mean, how do you weed them out? Whose responsibility is it? Is it the universities, as he suggests, or the security services?
I mean, firstly, the universities don't have the resources to start spying on students and start weeding them out one by one and interviewing them and questioning them. We go down a very dangerous line once we start taking that route.